InvestEngine has gone from strength to strength since launching as a UK investing platform, picking up rewards left, right and centre. They've become known for their super low fee structure, huge ETF choice and cutting edge features. I've personally been using InvestEngine for over 4 years now. When I first started with the platform, I made some pretty big mistakes as I was a complete investing novice. So in this video, I'll share 4 of the biggest mistakes I made, the things I really wish I knew when I started my InvestEngine journey. Hopefully this will be useful to those who are thinking about opening an account and also those who are already with InvestEngine. If you're new here, I'm Finch, a management consultant by day, and on this channel we like to discuss all things personal finance with a particular focus on how to grow your money through investing. If this sounds good to you, then I'd greatly appreciate subscribe. But for this video, let's get into it and let's start with the first mistake. This was picking funds not suited to my goals and risk appetite. When I first started, I thought I could easily beat the market. InvestEngine offers a large selection of funds and I jumped straight into their thematic ETFs. These are funds focused on niche themes. To be specific, I invested in clean energy and cloud computing funds, as I thought companies within these sectors would outperform the wider market and make me rich. The problem was that it's extremely hard to pick funds which beat the market unless you're a very experienced investor, and even they get it wrong more often than not, with only 33% of active funds outperforming their passive peer across a 12-month period according to recent Morningstar research. So if the experts find it hard, then what chance did I have? And to be honest, unlike the experts, I wasn't completely aware of the risk that I was taking. So because of this, I wasn't best suited to picking thematic funds. I ended up holding these funds for a couple of years, and fortunately they did make a positive return, but they didn't beat the wider market. Maybe they would have done better if I held them for longer, but I didn't want to take that risk. Instead, I decided I was more suited to a lower risk approach. So I sold the funds and reinvested the money into global ETFs. These funds are lower risk compared to thematic, as they are more diversified across regions, sectors, and company size. Now, with this approach, I'm content with my portfolio, as it aligns to my risk appetite and goals. I have only 4 ETFs in my portfolio. Firstly, a world fund where over 80% of my money sits. Then I have small positions in a global small cap fund, a European fund, and a gold fund to provide diversification outside of equities. With this portfolio, I might not get huge gains if one sector takes off, but I also won't take huge hits if one sector crashes. Instead, I'm backing the whole team, not just a star player. So that's my first big mistake, in not investing in funds aligned to my risk level and goals. The second mistake was not being consistent with my deposits. InvestEngine has a savings plan feature that automates the whole deposit process, but when I started, I ignored this feature. I just deposited when I felt like it, and this meant I was heavily influenced by my emotions and market moves. So I put in more when the market was up and less when it was down. This was a car crash approach for me, as when I deposited, the market often went down shortly after, and when the market was down, I wasn't buying to see the benefit of when it went up again. However, everything changed when I put together a clear plan of how much I wanted to invest each month and automated this strategy with the savings plan feature. I now invest $1,500 every month automatically into my ETFs, no matter what the market is doing. This way, I get the average market price over time and stay consistent. When I first started investing, I thought I could turn 1K into 50K just by getting crazy investment returns. I massively underestimated the role and the power of just making regular deposits and being consistent. Having a clear deposit schedule has been the biggest driver of getting my portfolio to where it stands today at around a 60K balance. InvestEngine makes it easy to set up a deposit schedule. You can choose how much you want to invest and how often, whether that's weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, and then they will automatically put that money into your chosen ETFs using the Auto Invest feature. I set mine up to go out on payday and treat this like a bill. The money leaves straight away from my bank account and I don't even think about it. And this has been the biggest game changer in my investing journey. Another mistake I made was not using analytics properly. InvestEngine has a portfolio look-through tool. It shows you exactly what companies, sectors and regions you're invested in. Early on, I'd glance at it, I'd take a look and I'd think, oh, that's cool, that's neat, and then just move on. I never actually thought about what this was telling me about my portfolio, if it was giving me any insight. Now I use analytics as a check. I use it to provide me insight. It helps me make sure my portfolio still matches my long-term strategy of being globally diversified. For example, I recently noticed my exposure to US equities had crept above 70%. The US dominates global markets, and it was increasingly dominating my world fund. But I didn't want my portfolio that tilted. My target was closer to 60% exposure to US equities. So I used that insight and added a European fund to balance it out. I'm not saying everyone should do this. For some people, more US exposure might be exactly what they want. The key is to not treat analytics like a gimmick. Use it to check if your portfolio still matches your goals and strategy. When you look at the data, ask yourself the question, what insight is this telling me? The last mistake I made, and I wish I avoided, was ignoring rebalancing. Like most people, I hold several ETFs. And over time, some do better than others, and my portfolio drifted away from my target allocations, my original allocations. At first, I thought this was fine, just let it be, let it ride. But what actually happened was that my allocations stopped matching my risk appetite. A key example here is that my gold ETF performed really well, and suddenly it had a much bigger share of my portfolio than I wanted. I did finally rebalance this, but it took way too long for me to do it, and I actually manually did it in selling some of my gold ETF and buying more of my other ETFs. I could have saved a lot of hassle by just using InvestEngine's one-click rebalancing tool. This automatically generates the trades needed to realign your portfolio to your chosen weights. Now I use this tool, and rebalancing is also a regular part of how I manage my portfolio. So those are the 4 biggest mistakes, the 4 big things I wish I knew sooner with InvestEngine. There are plenty more lessons I've learned along the way, but these are the ones that made the biggest difference. If you found this video useful, then I'd greatly appreciate a like, and if you want to follow my journey and get a bunch of videos like this one, then I'd love a subscribe. If you've got your own lessons or mistakes from using InvestEngine, please also drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them, and I'm sure plenty of other people would as well. Thanks for watching.